It's Wednesday, August 14th. This is the Rolling Thunder Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Ryan.
And we've got a doozy for you today. I don't know. Ryan, we're recording this early.
Yes.
Like a week early.
Yeah.
Probably be recording the next one. I don't have any emails yet because that's just been posted today. So hopefully within the next time we get together to record some episodes, we'll have some emails to read. So feel free to send the emails. I'll include the email address in the YouTube description, I guess, and then hope that doesn't backfire massively.
Well, it'll be interesting, and I'm sure my mom will send you an email asking me to come visit her more often or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? So what's up with you? How have you been?
Well, at the time we're recording this podcast, I will have been done the majority of the Nanaimo Fringe Festival. And I'm just really excited to do that because it's a different avenue than your traditional stand-up comedy show. It allows me to talk more and not worrying about being so funny all the time. So I can talk about my situation with my cerebral palsy and just things in my life that I've faced over the years that I don't necessarily bring into my act. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So
I wish I was there to see it. Last one-man show that I saw was Andy Kingetti's Pouring in Pinochet, which...
Oh, yeah.
Check it out. It's if you get a chance. I know he was at the Winnipeg Fringe doing that show.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it. So, yeah, it'll be my first time doing the Fringe on my own. I did the Vancouver Fringe. When was that? 2018?
Mm-hmm.
I was part of the Rape is Real and Everywhere show, and that was really intense. I was the only participant in the show that did all 6 shows. I headlined 3 of the shows, and then I did a spot in the other 3.
I thought you were going to say you were the only participant who raped someone. That's what I thought.
Yeah. No, not exactly. Not exactly. I'd be really easy to get away. All you would have to do is go up a step, and I'd be screwed. So, yeah, no. That was a really intense experience.
I'm sure it was intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my only experience with Fringe festivals up until doing the one in Nanaimo. So, which I still talk about the fact I was abused in my portion of the show. It's called Wheels and Whoopie, and I do it with a tremendously talented comedian named Randy Andy, and
mm-hmm.
She's very musical and just a lot of fun to work with. So it'll be interesting because we basically have free reign and I can talk about whatever I want. So I know I have a script for the show, but I know as I'm up there, things are gonna come up and things are gonna happen that I won't be expecting or won't. So I'm really looking forward to that. It should be very eye-opening. I know it won't be as dramatic as when I did the Rape Was Real and Everywhere show, because that was a really intense experience because it was multiple comedians sharing their stories of being sexually abused or raped, and it was hard on the crowd. There were people in the crowd that were there just to be there if someone needed someone to talk to. The show also allowed people to get up and leave at any point if they felt uncomfortable or if they just needed some time.
Yeah, but you're used to that.
Yeah. Yeah, people walk out of my shows all the time. And then they yell, look at what I'm doing. You can't do that. So, yeah. So, it happens a lot.
I've a couple times had people walk on me, but not a lot. Like, surprisingly, for what my act is, it's shocking how rarely that happens.
Yeah, that's true.
You didn't need to answer that so fast.
Sorry, I'm just being honest.
It did happen one time. I was in Port Alberni. I didn't even see the person walk out, right? Yeah. And then I was doing my buddy's comedy tour. So my buddy put together this tour, like few times. His name's Brian Major. It's called the Res Jesters Tour.
Oh, I remember that tour.
And I was their token white guy, is what he said, which always upset me. That I was like, don't. First of all, like, I live with my grandparents. We watch APTN. Yeah. So that means the token white guy is the villain. Okay, I'm not. I'm trying to have fun with you guys here. Yeah. I shouldn't say you guys. That sounded not how I wanted it to. But you know what I mean. Like, we're all trying to have fun. We're all having a good time. Yeah.
You didn't shine your white privilege in their face.
No. So here's what happened. I mean, maybe kind of. I don't know. That's the worst part. I don't fucking know.
It's too funny.
I do understand that I have a privilege, and I've used it at, like, there was one time Brian and I, this is how old this story is. We were at HMV looking at DVDs, okay? And I had lent Brian a handful of DVD. Like, I think Jerry Seinfeld Comedian, I Am Comic, like, I think he still has those too. But I lent him like a stack of DVDs. And then he's like, I can't carry them all. Can you, like, stick some in your pocket and that? And I was like, yep. So I had, like, some in my pocket, and then he had some. And then he's just like, dude, like, he walks up to me. He's First Nations. Yes. He walks up to me. He goes, I just realized we have those DVDs on us. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you realize they're going to stop us on the way out. And I go, they're going to stop you. I'm fine. And we both laughed. No one got stopped. But I did worry about that. The second he mentioned it, I totally worried. Like, fuck, they're going to stop me. And I don't want that to happen. Like,
you get busted by the man.
Busted for what? I lent him the movies.
Yeah, I know.
So
that's funny.
But, like, he put together tours, and those were, like, the first few tours that I went on. Yep. And we were in Port Alberni on Vancouver Island, and we're doing the show, and this guy keeps heckling me. Turns out it's the chief.
Oh, really?
The chief is, like, shit-faced drunk and heckling, and I'm just smashing him, and he's laughing, and, like, there's a good group of people that are laughing and enjoying it. And like, I said something at one point that clearly they deemed, well, that was very offensive and disrespectful to our chief. But I'm like, he's laughing. Like, what's up with you guys? Like, he's, dude, like, him and I are having fun. I don't know about you. I didn't see. A couple people walked out. And then the next time Brian did a tour there, I wasn't included on that tour. Not for that reason. Just I think I was out in Toronto or something like that. Okay. And there wasn't a great turnout to his show. And he asked why. And someone at the show was like, yeah, last time there was some little white kid with blonde hair here, and he was very disrespectful. So the whole band decided we're not going.
That's funny.
And Brian goes like, I'm proud of you. And I go, that killed your ticket sales. Why would you be proud of me? You should be pissed at me. Like, yeah, I'd be pissed at you. I'd be like, this asshole. So yeah, it's touring the island is fun. I don't know what I got us off track like I normally do.
It's okay. I was just, when you were talking about that, I was trying to think of a time when I've got really heckled or people walked out.
Oh, because I was asking people walking out.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a time where someone's walked out. I've had a time where someone like just verbally berated me and was very ignorant and rude, and then they asked me what I was gonna do, and I just looked at them and they said this, and then I called the bouncers over and they dragged him out and beat him up in the alley. It was at the old Comedy Mix.
I was gonna say that sounds like the Comedy Mix. That sounds like those guys.
Yeah, they beat him up, and I didn't tell them to beat him up or anything, but they told me between shows. They came over and they're like, "Oh, Jesus, we tooled that guy up for you and threw him in a cab." So I was like, "I just wanted you to escort him out. Like, I didn't expect you to like come to my savior like I was a damsel in a castle tower waiting to get rescued." It wasn't like that. Just kick the guy out for being ignorant.
They were like the worst and the best for that.
Yes.
That club would like. I watched them throw a guy out after a show where like I was hanging out finishing my drink.
Yeah.
At like was it Rob? Was the manager's Rob? This big bald guy? Was that right?
There was Jason was the manager.
Before Jason.
Oh.
I think it was a guy named Rob.
Yeah, it was Rob. Yeah. They also had a bouncer named Rob, too.
By the way, there's another Andy Kingetti story.
Oh, really?
Andy Kingetti had, like, a group of friends at the show.
Yeah.
And after the show, we're all sitting there drinking drinks. And it's like this, I don't know if they were a German couple or what. I feel like they were German. Maybe Swedish. I don't know. All I know is we were finishing our drink, and they're like, "Hey guys, like wrap it up." And I was like, "Rob, we're trying to wrap this up. Like, just give us a minute. We'll be out of here. Not a problem."
Yeah.
And then Rob came back like a few minutes later, and he's like, "Seriously, guys, wrap it up." And I'm like, "Almost done, Rob." And then he starts walking away, and then he just goes, "What's that?" And he rushes over and he grabs Andy's friend's husband, like around his neck like this, and just picks him up, drags him up the stairs, and shoves him out the door. And they're all like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" And Andy's like, "Did you see what happened?" I go, "Yeah, I saw what happened." He's like, "So the second Rob came back the second time, was like, 'Seriously, guys, wrap it up.'" He turned around, the fucking guy gives him the finger, right?
Oh, really?
So Rob's like, "Oh, what's that? You gonna do that?" So Rob comes back down, and I'm just like, "Jeez." And he walks up and he goes, leans into the table, goes, "Nice fucking friends, Andy." And I start dying laughing. I'm dying laughing. And she's like, "Why would he do that?" Like the white friend. "Why would he do that? It's unbelievable. Why would he do that?" And we're like, "'Cause your husband gave him the finger." And like, Andy was friends with the woman, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "Your husband gave him the finger." She's like, "He wouldn't do that." And he's like, "I saw it." And he's like gasping. I was like, "I also saw it. Like, he shouldn't have done that." And he's like, No. There's no way he'd do that." And then we walk upstairs, and he's just sitting out at like the cab stand, right?
Yeah.
And he's like kind of down like this. She walks up to him and she's like, so what happened? What happened?" And he just goes like, I believe they were some sort of like a Scandinavian, so like Swedish or Finnish or something.
Okay.
I believe Swedish was what it was, because all of a sudden he explains to her. She goes, "Did you give him the finger?" And he goes, "Yeah, I gave him the finger." And she just lays into him in Swedish.
Nice.
So none of us know what the fuck she's saying.
Nice.
And then he just like a dog with a tail between his legs and like the ears down, walks away. And she's like, "Okay, let's go get a drink." And I'm like, "What the fuck just happened?"
That's so funny. That's the one thing about my cerebral palsy, that
no one could carry you out like that.
No. I've been carried out of places because a lot of venues haven't been accessible. But there's always like some heroes in the audience that are like, we'll get you down, but they don't ask me how much I weigh or my wheelchair weighs. They just want to man up and do it or whatever. But, and that's happened a few times in different venues around the country. But the one thing I was thinking is, I've never been able to flip anyone the bird. You know, I've never had that experience of being able to do that, because when I try and do the finger, like the rest of my fingers go up with my disc. So my insults are always verbal, and sometimes I just wish I could flip somebody the bird. I don't know.
I one time, very early on in my, like before I even moved to Vancouver, I had a guy get up on stage and like grab me by the throat.
Really?
Yeah, and then the venue didn't kick him out.
Wow.
And I was like, I can now charge that guy and the venue. Like,
yeah.
They were like, I thought it was part of the show. I was like, why would that be part of the show?
Yeah. It's not like you planted him in the audience to do that.
No.
It's crazy.
No, comedy's a tough enough job to do, let alone like the fact that the vast majority of us have like mental health issues.
Yeah.
Just
true.
Like,
I think you have to be a little screwed up to be a comedian in the first place. You know, no one normal, quote unquote normal, becomes a stand-up comic.
I kind of disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, most of the people who strive and who do well in it are not. You know what I mean? But like,
so who's normal?
Who's normal?
Yeah. And what's your version of normal? I guess because everybody's version's different.
Yeah, the funny thing was I was about to throw out a name, and then I was very quickly in my head was like, that guy's not normal.
There you go. See, you're proving my point right there, buddy. None of us are fucking normal.
There's a few, but it's like there's a few that like have fine lives, right? Like, I mean, there's also a few that like have had perfectly fine lives, don't really have anything, and then they get into it, and then they start having
That's
issues.
True.
That's
true.
If you're looking at like who's normal, I guess like, I don't know, Brian Regan, and his brother for that matter too. Like, they're both. I mean, Brian has like a lot of rage. If you watch his act, you see it. But I mean, it's, he's never come out. I could be wrong too. He
Well, I'm not.
But as far as I was aware,
I just want to be clear. I'm not asking the question to drag people into the spotlight and be like, they're not normal, because, like I said, everybody's version of normal is different.
Yeah, what is normal at the end of the day?
Yeah.
I know for me, and I'll just be straight up, like, I have generalized anxiety disorder that leans heavily into social anxiety. So anytime I've ever had to go to like a party, like a house party, I will show up to the house party, and then I'll probably circle the block like 2 or 3 times before I even go into the house party. Because I'm like, I just gotta go in. I'm always the person like in the corner. You got a pet? Cool. I'm gonna hang out with your dog here.
It's funny that you say that, because a lot of the time I'm the person in the corner too, because a lot of people's homes aren't fully accessible, so there's only certain areas that I can sit in. And there's been many a house party where I'm just parked in somebody's garage, and people come out, like people that'll come out to have a smoke or whatever, will socialize with me then because they're going outside to smoke.
Yeah.
But then they go back into the party, and then I'm just waiting for the next round of smokers to come out so I can talk to somebody. It's definitely a unique experience. Or what'll happen is they'll be like, oh, we'll just lift you in the room. And then they'll carry me in the room and put me down in like a chair or something. But then I'm stuck in that same spot the entire time for the duration of the party. So
I'd hang out with you. You'd be the dog that I hang out with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thanks.
That's what would happen.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of house parties. I think.
Well, me neither, really.
I think twice I've like been the life of the party, I guess. One time to a point where I was just busting balls with people. Like, it was one of those times where I got to the house party and I just, in my head, I was like, I'm going to be the biggest, funnest version of me that I can be.
Yeah.
And hopefully no one thinks I'm an asshole. Like, that's what I'll do. And, you know, like, talking with some guy here and kind of like teasing him, and then like talking to some other guys. And then at some point, this couple walks in, and I'm standing with like a bunch of comics at this party. And this couple walks in, and they like grab a drink. And then all the comics around me, all they can talk about is whether or not the woman's tits are fake. That's all they can do. Are they real? Are they fake? I don't know. And I got so sick and tired of this conversation. And because I had been like making the rounds in that, I audibly go, well, why doesn't someone just go ask her? And they're like, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I go, yeah, watch me. And I like beeline to them. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? I'm Chris. What's up? How you guys doing? I go, I have a question for you. I go, it's kind of the topic of conversation over there, which is annoying me. But feel free not to answer if you want. I'm not trying to...
Yeah.
Are they real or fake? And the chick's like, oh, I just got them done like 2 months ago. They're fake. And I was like, all right, cool. And then the guy's like, yeah, you want to feel them? And I'm like, let's not do that. Let's not make this weird. And he's like, you want to do shots? I was like, yeah, let's do shots.
Yeah,
like,
there you go. You made
hung
some
out
friends.
with them. They're like, all right, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
The whole drive back from the party, all I hear is from like one of the girls, you're such an asshole. Everyone hated you. I want you to know that. Everyone hated you at the party. You're such an asshole.
Oh.
And then the next day, I show up at the show, and the show is run by the woman who was telling me I was an asshole at the party.
Yep.
And then the person who was throwing the party walks down. Like, I walk down, I'm like, hey, how's it going? And she's like, last night you were a prick. You were a fucking asshole to everyone. Everyone hated you. And then the person who had the party comes down the stairs, and she's like, Gaskin, thank God you were at my party last night.
That's hilarious.
Everyone loved you. And I'm like, huh?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's funny just thinking about the whole mental health issue and anxiety, because I don't do small talk. Like I it's not that I don't want to, I just don't know how comfortably.
Same.
But you can put me in front of on stage in front of 1,000 people, and I'm okay. You know, it's weird that I'd rather be the one. You know that expression, like, they'd rather be the person dead than giving the eulogy? Like, that's never bothered me, you know, so... Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think... I wasn't trying to interrupt you, by the way. I was just... Do you think that that's... Like, it's a level of control? It's something like we were discussing on last week's podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a level of control that we have when we're up on stage.
It's true.
The other thing is, like, I see being on stage talking to however many people as so much different than, like, a one-on-one conversation.
It is.
Or in a party with a bunch of people. Like, I see it as so much different.
Yeah. So,
like, when people talk about what exactly that is, it makes sense to me as someone with anxiety that like I can be fine on stage. And we're officially back.
Yes. We have to take a mental health break there.
Yeah.
Mental health break. Eat some carrots.
Dude, talking to him is a mental health break. Yeah.
You're waiting for his mental health to break. That's what you're doing.
I think it has. I think it has.
It's broken.
If his hasn't, mine has. So. Yes. Oh, God. I don't even know where we were, but whatever.
I don't know what we were talking about.
I now feel like I have to tell another road story.
Sounds good.
To get us back on track, because you're actually staying with a comic right now, Pete Hudson.
Yes.
I'm saying right now because when this airs, it'll be right now.
Yes.
And I've worked with Pete a few times. We co-headline shows for this guy Andrew who runs.
Yeah,
has
Andrew
like some
Roberts.
runs. Yeah, he has some runs on the island.
Yeah.
And Andrew had it was a like a corporate gig. Okay. And it was supposed to be originally Patrick Maliha, Susan Thompson. Okay. Patrick dropped out and then Susan dropped out.
Okay.
And I was asked to fill in for Patrick. And then he asked Pete to fill in. And then he asked another guy who was like, so we had a driver to get us out up to like Campbell River or wherever it was, Comox. I don't know, but it was at like this like like a little vacation resort type thing where you're in like log cabins and that, right?
Okay.
So we're doing it for this company. It's only like 10 people that are at this thing.
Okay.
And we all had like this nice dinner around. And then they had like kids running around. And we're eating our dinner. And the old guy who drove us is like, so when are we doing the show? And I'm like, we're doing the show when they say we're doing the show. Like, that's how this corporate gig works. All right. I can tell you're already antsy about getting back home and fully understand. But that's not how this works tonight. And sorry, like...
The show happens when it happens.
Yep. And I go, so, I was told there's no content restrictions. Like, what's the deal with the kids? And they're like, oh, don't worry. We'll send the kids away for the show. I was like, okay, fine. We can deal with that. And it keeps getting later and later and later. Finally, they're like, all right, we'll start the show. And Peter goes up. There's still kids there. They're literally, there's a couch like this in the front row. And a couple of kids are sitting on it. And he's about 3-4 minutes into his set. And they start pillow fighting.
Nice.
And I'm in the back of the room. And I'm dying laughing. Because Pete... And what a professional he is. He's powering through. But if you look into his eyes, he wants to murder someone. For sure.
That's
right?
funny.
He's like, I will drop kick both these kids right now. And all of a sudden this guy stands up and he walks over to the couch. I'm like, all right, he's going to deal with it. And then that guy picks up a pillow and starts joining in the pillow fight.
Oh, man.
And I was surprised Pete's head didn't blow up at that moment.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, this is going to be an awful gig. And they were very nice people. And it was like a pleasure to work with them.
Okay.
But like as far as the comedy show goes, it was kind of a fucking wash.
Yeah.
And the guy that Andrew hired that was like in between us, I mentioned the game. I don't even remember the game, but he ended on like a magic trick. And then he was like, let's get out of here immediately. And it's like, that's not, no. With corporate gigs, you kind of have to stay a little bit and shake hands. And also, this is how you get more work. Like, stick around a little bit. And he's like, no, I'm leaving. Like, we got to leave. And he was our ride. So we're like, fuck. Like, I guess we got to go. And I said, like, thank you to everyone. Like, sorry, we got to go. He's got to go. I would have loved to hang out just a little bit longer.
Yep.
Get back. I was put up at, like, a hostel that was like right across from a club. So I get back and Andrew was at like some other show.
Okay.
Like selling merch or whatever, right? So Andrew calls me and he's like, how's it going? I was like, okay, like we made it back to Nanaimo. He's like, how was the show? I tell him about the pillow fight, right? I'm like, this wildest thing. He goes, but like, how was it? How do you do? And I went, I don't know. I I don't know, because it was only 10 people, and,
Yeah.
they seemed to be enjoying it, but who knows? Because it wasn't like big laughs were coming in. Like, every so often I get a big laugh, but... And then I'm taking the ferry back to Vancouver, and there's, like, wrestlers that I know on the ferry from my time, like, reffing. So I'm hanging out with them. I'm like, they're like, what are you doing on the ferry? So I tell them about the show, and I tell them about everything. And they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, right? Yeah, absolutely, it's crazy. And then by about the time we get right back into the port, my phone goes off, ding. And I look, and it's a message from Andrew. And he's like, here's the review of the show. And I'm like, okay, here goes nothing. And I read it, and it's like the host was Peter, was very good. We really enjoyed him. The middle act was terrible. He like straight up, just like he was awful. He shouldn't have even been doing that. He should have been doing like the headliner was fantastic, and I just was like, whoo hoo hoo,
yeah, dodged the bullet there.
Yeah, I got lucky with that one because I figured that would have been it.
That's funny.
I've worked quite a few times with that guy, and like, he's a fun guy to be around. I like Peter a lot.
Me too. I really got to know Peter really well, and unfortunately, when Maddie passed away, because Matt was really close with both Peter and I, and we were the comics he'd always go on the road with. So then all of a sudden, Peter's like, "You have to be my Matt, and I'll be your Matt." And we just started doing more and more shows together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's a very wonderful human being, and he's got a good heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got another story about him, but that's for another day.
Okay.
Are
we getting
see,
close?
How long do we got? We'll probably have a shorter episode this week.
Okay.
So we got a few more minutes left before we wrap this up. Is there anything you wanted to talk about?
Well, just to go back on talking about comics mental health.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of hits us in two ways, I think, anyway. There's our job is to make everybody else happy, but then a lot of us go home alone on the bus, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the mental health aspect of, like you were saying, doing a corporate where they're not always the easiest shows to do, and sometimes they can be a shot to your self-esteem as well and kind of make you feel down afterwards.
Yeah.
Because most comics you talk to will do corporates because we need the money, but don't enjoy doing them. I've never met a comic that says, "Oh, I love corporate gigs," in my life of doing comedy for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have said that to me, they're being facetious. So, yeah,
Or they're greedy.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure there's a few people that actually enjoy it. I'm not one of them, and it's not...
I'm not either.
Not that I... I'll take the money, but, like, also trying to, like, explain to people, like, what they're paying for and why it actually is... cost the amount that it does, it can just be a nightmare.
Well, it's funny you say that because I for a while there, I was putting ads up in my local community groups online saying, like, comic for hire, we'll do birthday parties, anniversaries, divorce parties, whatever you need, you know? And then when I'd get people contacting me, they're like, "Oh, how much for an hour?" And I'd tell them the amount. They'd be like, "Oh, that's too much." But then the average person doesn't realize how much effort and time and everything it takes to come up with the amount of material we do go up there with as a professional comedian. Even if it's just 5 to 7 minutes, that's still like 3 to 4 hours worth of work for that 5 minutes, you know? So maybe even longer in some cases.
I had a time where, like, I quoted this company, and the guy, I didn't even get to give them the full quote. Like, I was just asking probing questions. How many people, like, what do you expect of me? What's your budget?
Yeah.
And they were like, it's like 400 people, and we want you to do an hour clean. We want like material about our industry. $200. And I was like, you are so far off.
Yeah.
What I would charge.
Yeah.
And when they were like, what would you charge? I told them the number. They balked at it, which I was not surprised by. And then they were like, you mean like this number? And I was like, no, I mean the number I said.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's technically low. I'm giving you a low offer here. That doesn't sound low, but I'm like, consider how much it would cost to take 400 people and move them to a comedy club to see a show and then back to where your venue is.
Yeah.
Consider the cost of moving them back and forth by renting buses. Consider the cost of getting them into the comedy club.
And a lot of comedy clubs kind of
2 items
accommodate 400 people anyway.
No, I mean, beside the point, but like the amount that would cost is going to run them $30,000.
Yeah.
So like what I asked for like sounded like a lot, but it was very reasonable when you consider everything that it would take,
else,
right? Yeah. And they didn't understand that, and that's fine. And I was like, I don't need to do this gig. And then I told them like I could do it for the price that you want to pay me, but if I'm doing it for that price, you're getting 5 minutes. I'm not going to be censored at all, and there'll probably be no jokes about your industry. Like, all the special things you want me to do, gone.
Yeah. Because all that's the work you got to put in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to say no to something like that. Like just because sometimes, I mean, especially here in like the greater Vancouver area, like making rent is not the easiest thing. So
yeah,
like there are comics who would have done that.
Yeah.
For a couple $100.
I have been that person with a lot of disability organizations because they'll be like, oh, we just don't have the budget. And then they kind of like, I wouldn't say they guilt me into it, but they're just being honest. And then I have to think about like, I'm one of those people that would use this organization. And a lot of the people that use that organization don't have any other social engagements. Mm-hmm. And especially things like comedy shows. So a lot of the time I'm just like, okay, I'll do it, but I know that I should be asking way more than what they're paying me. And that's just the nature of, I guess, being a comic with a disability. When I get asked to do things like that.
I think that's the nature of, I mean, to an extent, because you're using the services, you know? I mean, it's something like, I don't utilize a lot of the services offered for mental health. Not that I haven't, I have. I also know that, like, you know, they tried putting me on, like, pills, and I was just like, I can't do that. They put me on pills, and very early into it was when it's when Daryl Lennox passed. And
so they weren't. It wasn't human growth hormone. Oh, sorry.
No, because then at least I'd feel some sort of emotion when it happened. I felt nothing.
Yeah, I know.
I felt nothing. I knew I was sad. I felt nothing, and I was like, I need off these pills.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
I know. I've been on my own mental health journey, and I'll openly tell you, I've tried a number of different antidepressants, and a lot of them make you feel like a shell of yourself or a zombie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not sad, but like you said, I don't feel a thing. So,
what do you do to manage yourself?
I do actively receive counseling. I don't right now because I just don't have the money for it. But I was doing that, and it was helping. I journal on a regular basis, and I openly talk to people that are close to me about.
All right. Well, I finally found out why you dump all your shit on me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair. Dude, I get it.
Yeah, you got to put it somewhere else. It's not good to hold. It's not good to hold that shit in, so it doesn't do anyone any good. So
I tend to.
Why do you think I agreed to do this podcast so I could get it out?
Clearly.
And share it with people on YouTube and stuff. But
I do micro meditations.
Okay.
Like I'm not one to like sit down for an extended period of time and do nothing. Let me rephrase that. I can do nothing like watch TV, watch 3 hours of wrestling. Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
But I can't be the person who sits down
and meditates for 3 hours.
Quietly meditates for anything longer than like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Is eventually my brain starts going like, you have stuff to do, go do it.
Yeah.
Or you have stuff to do, go procrastinate.
Yeah,
like, don't do this though.
That's my style. Put everything up to the last minute and then feel the crunch. And then get it done.
But a lot of times for me, when I do it, is like if I'm on transit and it's like packed, I will close my eyes and just do like a 2-minute meditation.
Yeah.
And it really calms me down, makes me a bit better. Sometimes not that this wouldn't be something that would apply to you, but I do this thing called a walking meditation, which I really enjoy. So you, as people who are able-bodied, you would just kind of focus on like the feeling through your feet and kind of silently, quietly walk.
Okay.
And I learned these all going through like a service that had like this 8-week class that was like, here's some things to help you manage.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of took the couple things I can get. I mean, like a bunch of stuff. I was like, I know all this stuff already. Like this feels like a waste of my time, but.
Well, what's interesting is it's only been the last few years where even just talking about mental health and saying that, yeah, I'm not okay, there's no stigma attached to it anymore.
There's still a bit of stigma, but
it's not like it used to be. Yeah.
So. I mean, like I've been in tough places of late, and it's been like very frustrating, and I've been walking around with like a decent amount of rage, but I've just been trying to handle myself as best as possible. And when I explain to people the situation, they're like shocked. I'm not gonna get it out. I will tell you about it off mic.
Yeah.
Because I don't know
It's okay.
What I can say legally at this point. I'll put it that way. But like, it's part of the reason that I went out to a show last night.
Yeah.
Completely ate my balls, but then just got to hang out with a couple other comics that I really enjoy hanging out with. And then, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
With that too.
I mean, even after Matt Dillon's Celebration of Life, I had to find a show. Mm-hmm. And I went and did a show like right after that service. Because I'm like, that's how I deal with shit. Yeah. So.
I just, the fact that like those events kind of turn into like half networking stuff, I can't do it.
Yeah, I know.
The second person walked up to me during Daryl Lennox's and said like, hey, we got to get you on the show. I was like, I'm leaving now. I can't deal with this. I'm here to pay respect to my friend who passed, not to book shows.
Not to book shows and get stage time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we should wrap this up.
Okay.
You're in Nanaimo right now. You got a few
Yes.
shows left.
At the Port Theater.
Is there a website that they could go to?
Hey, Andy, what's the website they can get tickets from?
All right.
The Port Theater and the Nanaimo Fringe Festival.
All right.
Is where they can get tickets.
I'll see if I can remember. I'll put links in the description below. So at least those will be there to get tickets.
Sounds good.
For Wheels and Whoopie? Is that the name of the show?
Yes, it is.
Or Whoopie and Wheels? What's it?
Whoopie and Wheels.
Whoopie and Wheels? It is Wheels and Whoopie.
I don't even know the name of the show.
Wheels and Whoopie at the Nanaimo Fringe the rest of this week.
Yes.
Link in the description below. That's it.
Enjoy.
For this week's episode.
See you next time.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. Once again, I'm Chris.
I'm Ryan.
All right. Well, you're not going to do the bye thing?
Oh, bye-bye. Shit. Oh, yeah. Bye-bye, everybody.